And yeah, so I'm earlier this year I actually switched places of work. So I started working in at a new place called Embark Studios.
Yes.
And what really caught my attention was that they really wanted to use Blender heavily in production. So they are like, it was really interesting and fun to see that a new started company like or having a vision about like changing the tools that they work with, not the old standard way of doing things, but doing things smarter, faster, working more procedurally and things like that. That's cool.
That's super cool. Do you think it's gonna change your workflow much? Do you plan to switch it to it right away, or?
You mean Blender in production?
Yes.
We're
like
yeah,
no, like the new
using it.
But like the new tools, or do you stick it with an LTS release just for safety?
Well, yeah, it kind of depends. Most of the people working at Embark use the latest stable branch, but I can't help myself to be on the bleeding edge, so I'm usually using the latest builds online.
Yes. Wow, that's living in the edge. I know people that stick to the LTS and there's just no change at all, but that's cool. Well, if you're involved in the development of Blender and with the teams, with the module teams, then maybe it makes sense. So this blog post, shall we check it out? You're gonna show it live, or shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just gonna find it first. Let's see here.
It's on Blender.org. It's on homepage. I can actually share it with you. I'm share it with everyone so they can check here.
Right. Let's see here. So yeah,
what made you also like write this blog post? Why do you want to document this area of Blender? You think it's?
Well, I think that it's not a lot of people know that you can use Blender for creating real-time hair. I would say that Blender has a pretty unique capability of creating real-time hair. Sort of like coming from two ends. You have Eevee, which gives you really good real-time render results. So that's awesome for me, that I can get something that shades sort of the same as the result I get in Unreal Engine or another real-time game engine, because there's not a lot of other 3D applications out there who can sort of produce the same nice results in the viewport. And it also has these amazing procedural tools that are pretty approachable actually for creating hair. I haven't really seen people online using this type of setup for creating hair, so I hope if I show it, like other people can find inspiration from it.
All right, let's get to it then. Do you happen to have the file over there by any chance?
I happen to have the file, so I'm taking over the presentation, I guess, here.
Oh yes, yeah. Here you can.
Let's go.
I can get you here, and let me get.
Do you see my screen?
Yes, I just need to. Just a moment, because I have to make you full screen. Oops. And then just a moment, and I have to add you. I'm gonna add, sorry, I didn't have this here, this whole thing right here. Let's just put it, the whole thing. Okay, so yes, we see you.
All right, cool. Yeah, so this is the hair rendered in awesome Eevee real-time viewport.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's it's cool. You get kind of like these backscatter effects and stuff like that. And looking at the actual geometry, let me just bring out. So this is the wireframe of it all.
Wow, very low poly.
Yeah, this is actually, I actually set it up so you can, this is quite high poly in my opinion. So here's like a set up like some controls for decimating the entire thing, so you can see it like very smooth, and then try it out how it looks decimated. So if I go to render mode, you can see non-decimated, decimated. So you get sort of bit of jaggedness there, which is expected, of course.
Yeah, it's for real time.
Triangulation. Yeah, so that's cool. But the cool thing about this is that let's see here. So I can go into the particle settings here and groom the hairs in a really horrible way.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that all of the geometry is updated. So all of these hair cards are updating with the hair curves. So that's really nice to be able to see that sort of results.
Yeah. Okay. To recap, these are individual particles, parent particles. So you just add like 20 particles.
Yeah.
To a mesh.
And then you have.
Then you have.
I have some set up here with the braid as well. So that's cool that you can make it long.
Oh, with the curve modifier, or with a.
Yes. Exactly.
How can we see that? How is the modifier stack of that?
The modifier.
Or the braid,
yeah. Let's see that. So we could do like a little digging here. So first I have. Perhaps I should like take a copy of this and just set it up from scratch and show how it's done.
That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I could just copy this, and I'm just gonna go into a new clean scene here. Let's see. So if I just paste this, I'm just gonna turn all of these off. So first, there's just a model that looks like this, and so the important thing here is that you build a repeating model, and you can use like if I just make a copy of this, move it over here, I can just delete all my modifiers and show. So if you create an array modifier, you can choose how many copies you want, but if I would smooth this for a bit, you can see that there's a gap here, and if I just go to the array modifier over here, perhaps I should make this bigger, I can just click merge here, so then it merges the end over there. And if we look here, the next thing is that instead of using a fixed count, right, say how many copies there should be, I just set it to be as long as a specific curve. So now I'm using this curve over here. We could actually just take that and move it down like so. Okay, so then I'll say make as many as this curve is long. So it's just like a little thing like that, and then I turn the modifier on. So now this is as long as the curve, and then I use the curve modifier and just make sure to tell it that the deform axis is in the x-axis.
I always get those wrong.
Yeah, I know, me too.
I try everything until it's right.
Yeah, and so the cool thing here is like, now I'm pressing Alt-click here because I know the curve is somewhere here. And this was added not too long ago that you can right click and then jump to targets. So that's really helpful.
What? Wait. I missed that one. Wait.
Oh, okay. So I'm in the modifier of this object.
Yeah.
And then we can see, okay, here's the curve, and I right click and then jump to target. Now
Wow.
the curve is selected, so I can go to. That's super nice. So the cool thing here is
Missed it. I follow every change and I missed that one. Thank you.
yeah.
learned.
Oh, no problem. So the cool thing here is that now I can just like add more points to my curve, like so. And what I also love about Blender's curves is that you can twist them as well. You can scale them, do all kind of cool things. That's So the next. Yeah, so that's basically, this sort of modifier setup is really powerful. You can do like, cables or, a fence or, whatever. It's really good. And it's just 2 modifiers, array and a curve. Then I have some, displays and subdivision, and I have UV warp as well, just to can move it somehow, and then I have the decimation and triangulation, which is connected to that control I showed earlier.
To drive it, so it's not all the time.
Yeah.
Wow, that
so
it's awesome. Just a question, like with this workflow of the array and the curve, is there anything immediate that you miss that I wish I would this would make it so much faster? Or
yeah, one thing is that it's always
from the top list.
So it's always deforming the model, which is great for this type of setup. But let's say you have a hill and you want to make a little fence like this.
Yeah.
Then you would rather like to instance all the separate planks, right? Instead of having them bending slightly.
Oh yeah, to preserve, to not deform, to preserve the shape.
Exactly.
Yeah, so sort of like when you patent to you could do that with dupliverts, with the old duplis. When you duplicate per vertex, it's a hack though. But
yeah, I know.
So it would be an option where in the array modifier.
Yeah.
No, the
or using the geometry nodes.
Yes. Nice.
Not time for the segue yet, though. Yeah. So going back to the hair here.
Yeah.
I have all of these are like the output geometry, but actual hair growth mesh. So if I isolate that, I can just show you how that looks. I have a mask in the end. It just looks like this, basically. Very simple.
Just duplicating the head, the skull.
Yeah, it's kind of like I just want to, because the thing is, like, sometimes you want to remodel the head or exchange the head, and then it's just easier to have a separate cap, so you can switch the head and then shrink wrap this part to the head, and then I have a mask just to hide it. Things like that. Let me see what else. And then I've got a bunch of different hairs here as well. So there's this is just a sideburn, so to speak, and you got the flyaway hairs and things like that. And I could another thing is that all of these hairs share the same UV, so the UV is normalized, so it goes from 0 to 1 in U and V space.
Yeah.
And then the shader takes care of the which I sort of remap the textures to be put on these. I could show you like the basic setup for doing something like this.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. So let's go to So let's take a sphere or something like that. And then I start with a plane. And for some reason, it's this setup is best to use in the Y direction. So there's some kind of strange hard coding going in there, I think. So I just add a couple of cuts like that. And then I select this, the sphere.
Yeah.
Go into the particle settings, add a new particle, and instead of having it as an emitter, which just, you know, emits a lot of particles, change it to hair, and usually you get way too many hairs, so perhaps 100, something like that. And then, just because I always forget which way this thing goes, so I'm just gonna make a little arrow like that.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
then yeah, and then so this is the magic thing. So you go to particle instance on this object, because you want to take this mesh and instance it on each of the curves, right? So first select this, add the particle instance modifier, pick it, just select the sphere, and now it's gone and you're confused and sad. Then you go to amount, and it's kind of weird that this is not 1 by default. Still looks weird, right? Because now it's instance at the end of each hair. So what you need to do is just press this create long path, and now you notice that it's really wide, so just scale it in the X direction, and you can see that it's sort of like aligning so that it's kind of aligning the wrong way. So you need to rotate, press R, and then rotate along Y, and rotate it at 90 degrees. So now you got a pretty nice start setup here. So if you go into particle edit mode on that sphere, you can now start grooming.
It looks like many of those steps could be automated, as in could be avoided.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. I think that, I mean, in the end, I would love to see a combination of the new hair system and or geometry nodes for this. Sort of like a preset almost that you could save out.
Like a preset, like a quick effect, like the quick smoke.
Yeah, or you know, kind of like hooking up to the asset manager later on, that perhaps you can store out your node setups as assets, sort of like shading groups in the
like
shading
node
editor.
groups. Yeah.
So the thing here now is that all of these hairs share the same UV, and usually when I see people creating hair for games, is that they would have, like, you know, different hair strips in their texture, and then they would you know, lay out the different UVs kind of like almost randomly, but sort of like this. You could do that sure thing with this setup, but then you would need to, you know, convert this, so you sort of bake in the instancing, and then you know, separate the geometry into each strip, and then sort of like transfer the different UVs to the different strips. So but what I wanted to do was having a procedural setup instead. So in the hair control here, I think I have a property here somewhere. You could actually look at the...
I think the screen is not updating. Are you moving stuff around?
Oh, yes, I am. Try to pin my screen on your end.
Like pin the screen.
Yeah, there's like a little...
Yeah, okay, now it's pinned. Okay, yeah? Now I update it for... Okay.
Yeah.
Strange.
I have a call, like, we have the same issue all the time. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not on my end only.
Yeah. So, this is... this is another copy of the setup. But here we can see, like... so here I can control how thin the hair is, for instance, or how thick, and it's all controlled from the shader.
Yeah.
So this is the shader, and looking at the nice thing about the particle instancer is that you can choose different layers here, so you can get a an index or a random value. So the random value will be normalized, so it's between 0 and 1. So you get a basically a vertex color per each strand, and then you can use that to put into your extreme node graph here.
Wow.
And, yeah, we won't have time, unfortunately, to go through it, but I can kind of show how the thought process is. So this is the main hair scene. I should look at the shading instead. Yeah, so this is what's being rendered. So it's a bunch of hairs. So the idea is that it's really thick, and then when you travel like this, it becomes thinner. So then I can procedurally decide what grid it will sample the pixels from per strand, basically. So the idea is that you have the UV space, and then you just remap it so you get more columns and more rows, and you can set that dynamically. So you can use modulus or something like that in terms of math nodes.
Yeah.
To remap. But then the beauty of it is that I just set the render output, hit render, and then I just need to go into my hair system, and everything will be updated. So I don't need to go into some different baking application or something. It's a sort of a self-contained setup, so that's super nice.
Wow.
Thanks.
Have you done this process in other softwares? How much does it differ, and is this really the best the best we can do? Or because it looks like many, like it's working great, but it could even be better.
Oh yeah, it could definitely be better. There are, I mean, as I said before, the combination of a really great viewport where you get a super nice representation of the shading and also the procedural setup, that combination is really powerful. I mean, there are other softwares which is completely node-based where you could, it would be a higher threshold for the user to set up something like this.
Yeah.
But you could probably do a better job. But I really hope now that once geometry nodes get in and we start working on the hair objects, we could really improve this. Because I have a very clear idea how we could implement stuff so that it would be possible for any artist to produce really great looking hair. But it's not, and it's not really like there's another software which has a super nice clean way of creating hair in terms of real-time production stuff.
And when you export this, it looks similar to this.
Oh yeah. I mean, the nice thing is that it was it's nice and simple to set up the shading in Blender, so you can do prototyping, and then I just reconstructed the whole shading system in Unreal, so I get the same experience.
Wow.
And the cool thing is that since you have normalized UV, you can use the UV as well to shade stuff like from root to tip, for instance, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I have a root blend. You can have different presets, different hair colors, control the transparency. You could even, like here I have a hair switch, so I don't know if it's visible, but it's basically changing between textures, so you can get more frizzy hair.
Yeah.
It's
how
all
much?
done in the shader.
How wavy?
Yeah, exactly. And the cool thing is that you can just I have the parameters for the hair system just animated, so that I can get this totally automated. So that's cool.
This is crazy. So super nice. How did you come up with this idea, or you've seen it in other? How was the process?
No, it was. I mean, this how you set up something like this is similar in most software, I would say. It's just a slanted plane and having a tuft of hair. Most people working with real-time hair does this. But then the hair instancing thing is, I haven't really seen something super similar in other softwares. I've been looking at people who work with this sort of thing professionally in games, and it seems like it's still a lot of hand placed stuff and a bad viewport.
Okay, so we are ahead at least in some things at the moment.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome. Wow. Is anything else you wanna share? Do you wanna? There are some questions, by the way, the community is asking. So I don't know if you wanna jump into it. Do you have anything else to show, or?
Yeah, I could show like the stuff that we are doing at Embark.
Please.
Yeah. So we are. Let me see if I can pull something up. So this is just a little teaser that we showed on Twitter. So currently we have 2 games in production, and this one is a corporate free-to-play action game set in a distant future. So we're working with it's heavily done in developed in Unreal Engine. We use Blender and a lot of Houdini stuff as well. Have a lot of I'm really amazed by all the talented artists who work at Embark. It's really mind-blowing to see all the stuff that they do, and how people come together and being really effective, even though everyone is working from home and has been doing so for quite some time now.
Yeah, for most part of the year, I guess, right?
Yeah.
This is wow.
Yeah.
How?
And then we're all.
How close can you get from this viewport in Blender? Is there any? Like, I'm curious to see how it translates, how much you can preview in Blender and then see it. This is Unreal Engine.
Yeah. I think that Unreal is a bit better using a lot of assets. I think it's kind of hard. I had never done something that is as heavily populated in Blender, but I mean Blender has a really great viewport too, and can handle a lot of geometries and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I'm curious about the volumes though. That must be your Houdini, I guess.
Yeah, it could be, but there's a lot of things you could do to tweak stuff in Eevee as well.
Wow.
And but we're also working on a PvP shooter. It's a team-based thing with a lot of gameplay and focus on dynamism and physicality and destruction and stuff like that. So it's really exciting. And what I really like is Embark's vision to try to push for better tools, so that you don't just throw a huge amount of artists to solve a task and you work in a very inefficient way. Rather try to think about how can we create tools that empower artists and make it more fun and easy to work. Yeah, and I guess I should plug that we're looking for for artists and programmers and stuff. So if you go to Embark-Studios.com.
Yes, I am right there.
Yeah, you can see which positions are available.
Oh, let's see. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Blender positions. Senior game programmer? No. Any Blender positions open?
Well, there's
not Blender per se, but that
you're looking for programmers at the moment. But there's an open applications as well, so you can always apply, and then we can get in touch if things open up or.
Do you have to go through like portfolios yourself? Are you part of the?
No, I'm really thankful that I don't have to do that. It can be very hard and very time consuming, and I don't always think that. I mean, I think there should be people who look forward and look through all the applications and sort of find a selection of applicants, and then you can talk to all the artists and people in charge of different departments and come up with who is the best candidate for the position, so you don't have to look through thousands of applications.
So cool. Embark loves Blender. I'm seeing here the blog post.
And that's why Embark supports the Blender Foundation.
Oh yeah,
for another year. Yeah.
Yes. That's we're very thankful. Blender Development Fund. It's this program where studios like Embark. It's been how much? 1 year? Over a year.
Yeah, 1 year we've been contributing. But the thing is, like, I mean, we get something out of it. We get to be using a great software, and can talk to you guys and figure out how to make it even better.
Indeed, yes. Let me try to fit you in the screen before again. Whoops. No, you don't have to do anything. I just have to do some live OBS tweaking here just to get you in the frame, and then go to Blender.Today, where we're gonna be answering some questions because we still got some time. So let's see. So all right, well, maybe not all the questions are for you because sometimes it's a bit confusing. Some episode of the Blender.Today we go through the new features, most of them, where sometimes we have specific invited people, invitados. I'm about to speak in Spanish. All right, so first question. Hello, Pablo, Mr. Bystedt. Mr. Nice. All right, Pablo, I like the... Okay, this is for me, actually. Pablo, I like the general look of your mockups for geometry nodes. It feels modern, which is nice. Do you think in the future there might be room for icons in there too? Maybe floating above the node? No, I don't know about floating.
I've never seen icons in the shading editor.
Yeah, no. The thing is that if you add icons, they have to be icons everywhere, right? So yeah, what Daniel is showing is it's it's actually a mock-up. It actually works. I have a demo. Or no, actually, oh no. This is something else I was working on. Actually, I thought I had a patch, but I was testing by making the whole color of the yeah, it looks horrible. It looks like a Christmas tree, but I was making a thicker border and the header darker, but it worked for some nodes, not for all of them. But anyway, I thought I had it compiled. Then the question for you is, thank you for the work finding and categorizing things for the UV editor. I salivate looking at the workboard.
Oh yeah. There was that was a lot of the artists that work with the environment at Embark felt like there could be a lot of improvements to the UV editor. So we got together with Campbell, who's the module owner for modeling and UV editing, and he was very open to work on it and implement stuff. Of course, there's always the issue of time. So it's in progress, and there has been stuff that has been implemented. But I think there's a lot of things that can improve.
A lot of things, but thanks to people like you and developers working together, this will happen. Okay, so the next question, actually somebody mentions that the icon could be nice as a level of detail, so when you're zoomed out too much, it could show the icon. I would rather have it, I don't know, maybe an option, or just have the name of the node always the same size, because right now it scales down with the node, which I don't know how useful it is. To scale down the name of the node itself. The next question, Robert Rio. Hey, Blender Bob. One question: can we get overrides per shader, per objects per layer? Okay, this is a question, a feature request actually. So it's not really a question for you. It's about overrides per shader, per objects per layer. I think the nodes are not covered yet, but okay, right now we can only override all the shaders at once. Yeah, okay, no, it's a feature request. Sorry. All right, here, big fan of your work, Daniel. I'm going to reiterate my comment from 2 weeks ago and say that sculpt layers are sorely missing from Blender. Shape keys kind of work, but only with real geometry, and I don't want my PC to have to work with 30 million real verts when sculpting skin details.
Well, that's actually planned. I talked with Pablo about that, so he has that planned. So yeah, it's just a matter of time. And I think he also needs to work with some of the other developers to sort of get it integrated.
So it is in the works. Here's your question, your answer. What is the top of your wish list for Blender 3.0?
That development on the new hair objects should begin, and the UV suggestions to be implemented.
The UV suggestions, yes. So for 3.0, it's a good moment to throw away stuff, to break things. No, in breaking, no, don't put that, don't make that face. To break things, as in, if there's legacy, maybe it's a good moment to redo it. So maybe the hair grooming system would be a good time to do that. Next question. So, hey Daniel, super happy that you're involved into Blender development. I have 2 questions. 1, are you using the LTS version at Embark to ensure stability?
Well, it's not. We're not using the LTS version, but rather the the official latest stable version. So currently we're working with the 2.90 and about to switch to 2.91.
Good. Should be an okay switch. There's not a lot of changes internally or shaders and stuff. Maybe I think there are a few add-ons that hasn't been updated. So I don't know if you guys use a lot of add-ons, but I think there were some, because for the principal shader node has a new input, the emission strength. And there are some add-ons that apparently were doing something with connecting the sockets that they were not updated. External add-ons that I read online. 2. Is contributing to Blender development a part of your work, or do you do it on your spare time?
Well, I would say that it's mostly in my spare time, but part of it, like the suggestions we had regarding the UV editor improvements, was something that we worked with during work hours. So it was a lot of the artists at Embark just came together and we made a list and wrote down suggestions and sort of like ranked them what would be the most important from top to bottom.
That's so cool. Part of the job. It's a dream job. Damian Wilichenko asks, hello Pablo and Daniel, I like seeing guests on BlenderToday live streams. I have 2 teeny tiny micro questions today. Should I say yes or no? Okay. 1. Will there be initial support for curves in geometry nodes in Blender 2.92? I would say no. Not planned yet. So let's say no. Will there be an option include children in the duplicate operator? Never read about this feature request. Shouldn't be too hard, right? But no, it is not planned. So next question. I really love the hi Daniel, I really love the high poly orc character you have done on YouTube. It's really impressive. Nice work, which we actually feature as part of the release notes page. If you guys haven't seen it, 2.91 release notes page starts with bam, Daniel Bystedt. Super cool.
Oh my God.
Thank you for making this video, by the way.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Alright, so would you plan to make a Blender Cloud training for sculpting in Blender when those performance boosts are merged into the main branch? Would you do a cloud
I don't have
training at all?
I don't really have that much time left in the day.
No. I would rather have you
it's work,
contribute,
family, and I want to do my own projects as well. It's just tough to set that sort of time aside to create a proper tutorial series like that. I always find it fun to do small tutorials and stuff and put out, but I will see. I should never say never.
Never say never. Okay, so next question. My question is whether the core development team has thought of writing Blender software in Rust programming language. I think some people may have mentioned it in the chat once or twice, but not really. Not really. People are asking for quick videos from you. The Bystedt quick tips.
Oh, yeah, that sort of thing I guess I could do. Doesn't take
quicker, shorter videos than longer ones.
Quick and sloppy videos.
Yes. Next question. Okay, this is more feature requests, I think, too. I mean, the affect only origins option does not work if you're editing the numerical coordinates. That's a bug. Report it, please. It should always work with numerical input, so please report it as a bug, and maybe shouldn't say that, but maybe the developer feels inspired to say that it's easier to add. The Z app Y app debate seems strange to me. Is there any reason this isn't like choosing between metric imperial units? It would be useful to be able to swap between coordinate system. well, it's changing between units, like showing a matrix or imperial is way simpler internally than changing the app axis on a software that is being written from scratch to be with a hard-coded. There's so many areas in Blender that touch that.
I really gotta say, like, I've used a lot of different softwares, and you always need to like export and import stuff between them, and the only thing that they have in common is the unit, how long an actual unit is, within the application.
Yeah.
I mean, all this stuff about centimeters and meters and stuff like that, it's just a multiplier based on the actual unit of the application. So I would say that it actually is better to always think of measuring stuff with the actual unit than anything else, because it's just going to confuse you.
Measuring units, you heard it. Good point. But yeah, Y app, C app, I don't know. Unreal, what does it use? Z app?
It uses C up, but instead of using a let me check my notes, it's like people forget that you have left and right hand axis as well. So in Blender you have Z is up and the positive X is to the right.
Yeah.
And Y, the positive Y is forward. But in Unreal, the X-axis is reversed, so it's left-handed. So you just kind of just have to accept that all the applications out there are just different to each other, and you need to understand what what a coordinate system is and how they correlate to each other between the different applications.
Yeah, indeed. So Blender is not alone then, at least, because Z-App is also an Unreal. Max also has Z-App. CryEngine, Source apparently too. I'm looking here. So it's not even that far off. The next question. I would like to know why Blender still has the old texture system to make certain things. Like adding a texture to a modifier like displacement. Because answer, nobody has worked on it. that's the main reason why. But eventually you should use the node system.
Oh, it's like the texture nodes?
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to kick off in the future. In the future,
yeah. So not kill it yet. Well, kill it in the sense that it has to be remade from scratch. Next question. I love the new volume object and the modifiers that came with it. It's now simple and quick to create cartoony clouds. Have you used it? Do you plan to use it? Do you, Daniel?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't work with simulations all that much, but I'm just voxelizing stuff within Blender and using modifiers is really powerful as well. So I would probably use it for something like that.
I was wondering if there is a plan to create the OpenVDB export so that we can re-import it and do simulations. I'm not sure. We don't have that export yet, so I wouldn't count on it soon. Alembic and USD is the main priorities right now for input and output. Okay, so hi Mr. Bystedt. To keep with the topic, is there going to be a function in Blender to apply convert hair to mesh strip?
Well, you could just use the setup that I showed earlier, or you could convert the particle system to a mesh, and then it will create edges, and you could either export those to another application and do stuff there, or you could just convert it to curves and use the extrude function in the curve data settings, so you get strips or tubes or something like that
without even having to. Next question. Hello, is there going to be an isotropy in Eevee? Any workaround? Okay, first answer no. Is there any workaround? Did you ever run into needing an isotropy in Eevee?
Well, yeah. I mean, sure. It's would be nice to have for hairs, but you could just you can use like a multiple shaders and use roughness to sort of like fake anisotropic shading as well. it's not the same thing, but you know, it's the next thing.
Next. And the last question, very important one. Why Blender developers often have a toad or frog as their profile pic? I think they're talking...
I want to know too.
I think Sergey has one. I will have to ask the team. That's very important. I will tell them now, right now, before they go. No, I think it's just it's a funny drawing. Nothing in particular.
Yeah.
All right. So, how are you? How is it so far? You okay? It's actually 6 o'clock sharp. So
yeah,
we're on
that
time.
went by fast. I mean, now that you know geometry nodes is going to be implemented in master, I think it might be a good opportunity to sort of like get people in the mindset of how it works, because it doesn't mean that geometry nodes is finished.
No,
at all.
No.
It's still in development. It's something that I kind of see from time to time, that someone tries a new feature that is, you know, just been implemented and it's not finished. It's still in development. I mean, for Pablo's sculpting tools, that has been quite the thing, where you have different people trying to use it and says like, no, it's not good as this other sculpting application, or you can't do in this and this, and you kind of need to be in the mindset where you understand that it's okay, it's here now, but it's going to be so much better in the future. It's still in development, and of course it's great to give feedback and stuff, but the fun thing with all the feedback that I have given Pablo, it's sort of like 80% is stuff that is like, yeah, I've thought about that. We should. It's planned.
It is planned.
That's good.
And
it's going to be the same thing with geometry nodes. People are going to try it out and be like, oh, why can't you do this and this? This is not good. But you have to be sort of understanding that it is in development and not a finished thing.
Very highly in development. It's good that you bring this up, because the geometry nodes, especially this project, the geometry nodes project, it's on its bare bones at the moment. You can do some things, but it's very bare bones, and that's a mindset we try to get for this project in particular, to just whatever we have, just try to put it in master and just show it and have people using it. But that means that you're not gonna find most of the features that you like, that you probably are already looking for. Like there will be like 1-2 nodes for attributes. There will be nodes for, like, I even have Blender here open. So there is like a attribute. There is 2 nodes: attribute math and random attribute. And then there is some geometry, like there is a subdivision surface modifier node, but there's no displays node. So I hope people don't jump into it, just start asking, well, where is this one? Where is this other one? Otherwise we'll have to I don't know, either like remove it, make it experimental, hide it again.
I mean, there's a lot of information on developer.blender.org as well. I mean, for all the modules, there's lists of features that are planned, things like that.
Yes, it's a pretty big. So if you go to developer.blender.org, well, to the URL that you see here, geometry nodes project, you're gonna see some even sample files and where to get the Blender version, where to open these files, see, navigate through them. The very basics are there. The idea was with the first week, or first sprint, was to have which is maybe 2 weeks long, was the first one. After being set up, it was to have the most basic sample of like pebbles on rocks. You need a point distribution, point instance, and that's pretty much it. Maybe some vertex group to choose where to have it, like the density, but that's the bare bones. And the same with the second example where, okay, more complex. Let's have a trees and flowers. Okay, and then in the future we're gonna have leaves as a future example, and then just try to make it more complex over time, but start with the very basic. So yeah, exciting times ahead. I was just checking now, but apparently it's not yet merged. Let me do a final check. I just need to check. I will probably know if it happened. Okay, so no, the last commit is the asset browser and then library overrides, and no, it's not in master yet. So interesting. Tonight, maybe in a bit for my Spanish live stream, I'm gonna be talking about it. All right, thank you, Daniel. I don't know, is there anything else you want to share? You can I left in the description, the video description, links to follow what Embark is doing and follow what Daniel is doing on your Twitter.
Oh my god, look at that. Yeah, no, it's you know, contribute to the Blender Foundation.
To the development fund. Yes, that yeah, I don't do much advertisement of that, but really is what keeps the project going. I'm pretty happy that after the 2.91 release, we also saw a little increase on individuals. This is the most important part, the people that are actually supporting the project. Of course, there are studios, those are also important, but individual people, you know, because that's what puts the, you know, faith in the project, and it's a motivation. 5,000 people, that's a lot.
Yeah.
10 Blender conferences. All right, cool. Is there anything else? I think we can wrap this up.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Yeah, I think we are. All right. Thank you, everybody watching at home. It's been super fun. Thank you for the questions. I think we cover all the questions that were asked before the stream started. And I have issues with the sound, so I don't know if I'm confident to say that in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And yes.
You're really loud now?
No, I think you can hear it. I had an issue with the sound. I had to work it out, but I think everybody's listening, I hope. Otherwise, we're gonna have to mumble it, the whole thing. Pam 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 pam. No, I'm kidding. All right, see you. Thank you, Daniel, once again. See you, community. Same time, same place next week. Blender Today 130. All right,